Hello all, my name is Vivian Johnson, and the population that I chose to talk about today is military veterans. I hope you enjoy. In this lecture, we are going to cover a sample of items related to military veterans. First and foremost, the population is comprised of men and women, as well as identities who serve and protect the United States. This lecture is very near and dear to me because my father is a veteran. He served over 24 years in the military, risking his life every single day. This population also includes, but is not limited to, parents, children, grandparents, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and many more. In addition, there are several branches of the military that veterans enlist in, including the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. The Army and Air National Guard are reserve components included in the branches of military. Next, we're going to look at some of the branches of military. The Army is the largest and oldest service in the military that provides ground forces to protect the U.S. The Marine Corps is simply a component of the Navy. It maintains Marine and ground units for combat operations. The Navy is America's forward deployed force and major deterrent to aggression around the world. Next, the Air Force is a branch that provides rapid, yet lethal air and space capability that can ultimately deliver forces anywhere in the world in a matter of hours. The Coast Guard provides maritime safety enforcement, as well as marine and environmental protection and military naval support. Finally, the National Guard is a branch that supports missions, domestic emergencies, humanitarian efforts, and homeland security operations. As far as enlistment is concerned, all who decide to join the military are required to meet a basic set of requirements to enlist. You must be a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident with a valid green card. You must be 17 with parental consent or 18 without a parent present. You must also provide proof of a high school diploma or GED, and most of the time there will be multiple background checks done at time of enlistment. There are a variety of requirements for each branch, but the ones I just listed are universal for all. One of the main reasons why I chose this population is because of the personal significance and seeing firsthand the effects of combat on veterans. Unfortunately, veterans are prone to many health risks, the first being injuries from combat. Physical stress on the body, such as being involved in extreme combat missions. A very common risk veterans face is hearing loss, or more formally known as tinnitus, where there seems to be a ringing in your ear. This is mostly the result of extremely loud noises, like gunshots right next to your ear. Veterans also face limited range of motion and many mental health problems. For example, a common disorder that results from combat is PTSD, or more formally known as post-traumatic stress disorder. Other problems may include increased depression, elevated substance use, and sometimes suicide. For several years, society has always had both positive and negative views toward veterans. Many have always known that the military holds high standards for each service member and expect each one to live by them. In conjunction to this, there has always been an outpouring of support towards veterans, military personnel, and their families. However, many people have also expressed concern about a growing divide among civilians and service members. Veterans have felt for years that society at large does not understand their experiences. An interesting quote that I found while performing research on this population truly shed light on a negative bias that defined a veteran: the PTSD-ravaged, psychologically unhinged, and behaviorally unpredictable ticking time bomb. This is not an accurate representation of a veteran, but it is a bias that still exists today, and unfortunately We are trying, hopefully, to remove that bias, but that is sometimes what happens in this society, so, yeah. Veterans also face many barriers, even during and after their service. For example, after having left the military, they sometimes struggle with coexisting with cultures, values, and norms different from those of the military. They also struggle with reestablishing and reevaluating relationships with their family and friends. Veterans also struggle with understanding their relationship with themselves, their identity, purpose, or self-worth. But ultimately, a major barrier that veterans face during service is the psychological effects of traumatic experiences that may lead to decreased personal and professional growth. For example, post-traumatic stress disorder, survivor's guilt, depression, and inclinations towards substance abuse or addiction. It is not uncommon for veterans to receive medical attention, and those who do deserve the best care possible. After a service member is released from duty, many continue to suffer. They may experience homelessness, substance use disorders, PTSD, and sexual trauma, which occurs mostly among women. However, it does occur among men as well. The Department of Veteran Affairs has a nationally recognized healthcare program that directly helps veterans reintegrate back into society with as much ease as possible. They also serve this population's health needs to the greatest extent and focus much of their care on prevention and rehabilitation. Among veterans, resiliency has never really been an important topic of discussion, but in recent years, that has been changing drastically. Those who are veterans themselves or are military family members have been increasingly improving their problem-solving skills, communication skills, increasing social support, and managing stress effectively. The last thing I want to touch on in this lecture is the notion that historical events have had a major influence on veterans. 7 million veterans served during the Vietnam War, and of the 16 million Americans who served during World War II, about 496,777 were still alive as of 2018. One of the major events in our history was the Korean War, and 2 million veterans had served during this time in history. I want to conclude this lecture by mentioning that this population has always made a strong impact on America and continues to serve and protect with leadership and civility. While this population may have several risk factors, rehabilitation and prevention are becoming more and more common to alleviate health risks and beyond. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Here are my references.